welcome to Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today we're going to be using the Soft Pastel Assortment from Stampin Up. So you've got all these lovely coloured pastels, and I'm going to be showing you some techniques using those, and I'll also be using the hand pen petal stamp set and the coordinating dies. So I'll be mainly using the florals and the sentiment, and then I'll be using this detail die and this scallop die. So firstly, I just thought I'd take you through my kind of process a bit for when I've got new products, because I bought this when the annual catalogue launched, but I've not really used them yet. So I had a little test first. Before I start making my cards, I like to have a little test of new products and see kind of what I can do with them a bit. So you can see here I was testing, this is the first bit I did. I tested out all the colours next to each other just to see what they did, and then I was trying a bit of blending, and I was looking at different colours that might go together to make a nice kind of rainbow blend, and then I kind of took some of the colours out to see whether that looked better, and then I stamped in Versamarking and just rubbed some, because the pastels are quite messy. I've never used pastels before this ever, so this is really like just a test for me, just to see what they do. And because when I was doing this, I was getting quite a lot of kind of almost powder from the pastels down the side, so I thought, well, Versamark with sticky ink, let's just rub some over the Versamark and see what that does. And here I tried colouring over it and then blending it in. So by doing this, I can see kind of like what kind of looks I can get, and just trying out a few techniques. So then I thought, okay, well, what happens when I put them onto black cardstock? So I wanted to see how vibrant they were on black, and I tried that same technique with the black, but you can see it doesn't show up quite as well on the black, so I won't be using that technique on the black, although the actual colours show up quite nicely on the black, so maybe we'll do something with that. And then I was trying different blends and stuff on there. So you can see I've just taken scraps of paper and I'm just trying different things, and that's how I build up my my YouTube video, because as I said, I've never used pastels before this, so I didn't know what they did or what they were like, so it's a bit of trial and error for me. So I thought that for our first card today, we'd make a bit of a kind of almost rainbowy type background, similar to what I did on my trial sheet, and then you can see the colours, you can see what they look like on the paper, you can see how they come out. So you can see I've barely used this, I've only used it for those trial bits, so I'm just going to just scribble across. And in fact, I might just kind of almost save that kind of chalky bit to one side, because I'm going to use that again in a minute. So actually I may as well use that I've already got off, rather than making more powder. So I'm kind of learning a bit as I go along here as well. And then you can see they kind of blend quite nicely when you kind of go over one with the other. So let's put this one's the Coastal Cabana, so let's put that over there. And I'm just running my finger along there to kind of get a nice blend. You can see I'm getting really, really messy with this. And then what do we want next? Let's maybe go into this green next. And then maybe we'll go into the yellow. So this is Daffodil Delight. So I'm just kind of thinking with each one, okay, well what colour in this palette is like the next closest one to what I'm using. Let's pop the yellow down there. The nice thing about these pastels is that they are actually coloured to coordinate with our colours that are in the you can see I've just smudged that there, and I've smudged the green onto the yellow rather than the yellow onto the green, so I'm just going to kind of cover that back over, because the green on the yellow makes it look really kind of like, doesn't look very nice. So that kind of looks a bit better now. So then let's pop the orange on next. So this is Mango Melody. We've got the red, which is Poppy Parade. And let's finish with the purple. Right, so I'm now going to go and wash my hands before I get this colour all over the place. And I think if you don't like getting your hands dirty, you could always use like a sponge dauber or something instead to kind of blend everything in. So then the other thing that I wanted to do is I'm going to take the thanks from this Biggest Wish stamp set. So we have to stamp the thanks in verse marking onto this scrap of basic white cardstock. Then I think I might try using a paintbrush to pick up some of this colour. Let's see how that works. That seems to be working quite well actually. So I'm going to go in the colour order that I've got on there. So I'm going to use some of the dark blue and then some of the Coastal Cabana. And then let's go with this green. And then we'll go into the yellow. And the Mango Melody. And then we've got the red. And the purple. And then I might start again because I've kind of like not spaced that out very well. Let's just try with my hand so that I can kind of pick up more colour as well. So I kind of want it a bit more vibrant than that. So I think that the paintbrush did work, but it wasn't giving me the kind of vibrancy that I wanted. Let's just use my piece of kitchen roll just to rub off the excess colour. So I think that looks quite cool, so I'm just going to cut that down. So I'm going to take this piece off here before I get everything all over the place. I'm going to keep it to one side because I want to use some of that colour later. So then another little tip that I had from my partner who went to art school is just to give it a spray with some hairspray. So I've just got some cheap hairspray. I'm just going to give that a spray and see what happens. And I think the idea is that it's supposed to kind of just set the particles of the powder. So then I've got an A6 black card blank, so that measures 8 1/4 by 5 7/8, and that's scored and folded in half. Then this piece that we did before, that's 1/4 inch smaller than my card front. Then I've just cut this down to 1/4 inch bigger than the thanks. And then I've just got a strip which is probably about 3/8 of an inch wide. So I'm just going to glue all those together. When I'm creating dark coloured cards, I always put an insert inside as well, so I'll put a white piece the same side as this inside after I've finished filming. So I'm just popping my strip across there, and then I'm just going to use some of the dimensionals behind my face. So that's my first card, so really nice and vibrant. So then for my second card, I thought I'd do some stamping, colour in the stamping. So this piece of basic white cardstock is roughly 4 by 4 inches. And I'm just going to take my black memento ink. And I'm just going to stamp that all over. And actually I might just pop this at the bottom because that's going to be at the bottom on my actual card. I hadn't intended originally to stamp on this, but I think it might be nice to kind of carry this pattern on down the bottom. So I'm just going to do that. So I know I've just kind of brought this in out of the blue. This piece of cardstock is a piece of Coastal Cabana, and it measures 1.5 inches by like just under 4 inches. So I'm going to pop that to the side a second. I'm just going to have a go at just colouring these with the pastels and see how it comes out. So I might just try kind of colouring the darker bits with the pastel and see if I can kind of blend that colour out with my paintbrush, see how that looks. I mean, I've not actually tried this as a practice, so we'll just see how it works. Yeah, you obviously lose some of the vibrancy when you kind of blend it out, but I quite like that look actually. This is definitely not kind of a nice, neat kind of look. So I'm just gonna, I might just keep rubbing over with the cloth. I don't want to rub over too much actually because it kind of seems to smudge it a bit. So maybe just flicking it off is a better plan. So let's use the Coastal Cabana because I've used the Coastal Cabana for here. So I'm going to use the Coastal Cabana for the leaves and the stems as well. And quite nice thing about these is because they've got quite sharp kind of corners, you can use that to get a more accurate look. You can see after each colour I'm just giving it a bit of a flick. Actually I haven't done this bit yet, so let's just do that. And then I think for this flower I might just do a bit of yellow for the centre. And then I might do some orange, some red around the petals. Right, so let's blend out some of this red. And I think this way of colouring doesn't give a very accurate result, but it does give a lovely effect. So let's just give that a spray with a hairspray. And I'm keeping this hairspray well away when I spray it. I think it's just supposed to kind of keep everything in place and stop it from smudging. So I do actually really like that. So then that's going to go on there. So that's another A6 card blank in basic black. That's going to go across there. And then this will go across there. So I'm just going to trim that to size. Just going to use this as a guide. And then I'm just going to just heat emboss sentiment on here. So I'm just going to use this thanks from in here. And I'll take my Versatile pink, stamp that on here. Then I'm going to use my white embossing powder. I really like that font on the things. I think it looks really kind of like stylish and modern. So use that. I'm just going to heat it with my heat tool. So then I'm going to go cut down my sentiment. So then this is a top folding A6 card. So it's nearly 11 3/4 inches by 4 1/8. And then I'm just going to glue all these pieces onto it. You often find when I turn a piece of cardstock over that there's something random on the back, because if I make a mistake or decide I don't need to use something for a project, then I'll keep the piece of cardstock and I'll just turn it over and use it for something else. And then I'm just going to glue this over the join. And I'm just going to work out where I want my sentiment. And I think I quite like it just here, so I'm just going to add some dimensionals on the back and just stick it there. So that's our second card completed. So then for my third card, I'm going to make it a bit of a rainbow background, just in the same way I did for my first card. I think I might go with the purples and the blues and the greens. And just another way of getting a different look. So I'm just going to blend that up a little bit. And obviously the more you blend, the more you're going to lose that texture. So I just want to use the same background technique, but this time I'm going to just cut out these detail dies from the die set in basic black cardstock, and I'm just going to stick them all the way over my background just to have a really nice kind of floral effect background. So I'm trying to make sure that they don't all go on in the same way, so that it looks a bit more random. Now I'm going to trim the pieces off around the edge. So then I can just use some of these little bits here just to finish off my background. Then we've got this cute background, which I'm just going to mount on another top folding A6 card blank. And I'm going to just do another thanks with this stamp, and I'm going to heat emboss it with white again. So I'll just go and cut that down. Then I've got that there. Because the pieces we're making with the chalks are kind of creating focal points for these cards, I'm keeping the layouts quite simple. So I'm just going to glue this piece onto my card front. And I'm just going to pop on a few dimensionals. I'm just going to add my sentiment just here. So that's our next card completed. So then for this next card, I've got a Poppy Parade 5x5 inch card blank. Then I've got a piece of basic black, which is 4 1/4 inches square, and a piece of basic white, which is 4 inches square. And I'm just going to use the technique that I showed you on the on my first initial piece. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to use this piece for this one. And I'm going to stamp this on this piece. And I'm just going to use that all over there. You can't really see it on camera, but in real life you can kind of see where it's printing, so you can kind of see that you're not overlapping each of the images. And then I'm just going to put this Poppy Parade kind of dust that we created earlier onto here. Remember on the first card I had all those different sections of kind of dust. I'm going to take one of my blending tools and I'm literally just going to rub it over with some of this Poppy Parade kind of dust from the pastels on it. So I've not really got enough there, so I'm just going to scribble this on here to create some more. And then I can just rub this on here and take it over to here. And you can see you get a really nice kind of two-tone effect, so that the flowers are showing up really bold, and then you just get kind of a light colour in the background. And I've just done that with one colour, but you could of course use all different colours across there if you wanted to. And then I'm just going to take a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock and I'm just going to heat emboss that thanks again on there. So I'm just going to go and cut that down. So I've cut this down either side of the thanks, and then I'm just going to cut this up. So I think I'll cut it across there. And that's just to make sure that the tails either side are pretty much level. And then I'm just going to cut up the middle. And I'm just going to cut that tail into there. And cut that into there. And that's the best way I know to try and get the tails as even as possible. And then I'm going to cut a piece of black to go underneath. So I'm going to cut that one across there. I want it to kind of follow the tails of the red one, so I'm just going to cut that up there, and then up there, and up there. And I might just add a little bit of the red chalk just to the centre of each of the flowers, just to lift them a little bit. Let's pop a few dimensionals on the back there. So there we go, that's that card finished. And for my final card, I've got a 5x5" square of basic black cardstock, and I've got a 4¼ square piece of Mango Melody cardstock and a 4" square piece of basic black cardstock. And for this one, I'm going to start off by just using this piece and heat embossing that on the middle of this piece of cardstock. So I'm going to heat emboss in white again. And I think while I'm heat embossing, I'm just going to heat emboss the thanks as well, just down here next to the flower. And I'm just going to pop this on at level 2. And then I'm just going to colour the image So I'm going to use a similar idea to what I did before with on the white cardstock. I just wanted to show you how it looks on the black cardstock. So I'm using the Mango Melody, and then I use this green, I think this is Granny Apple Green, just on the leaves and the stems. I might not actually do the stems because they're a bit fine when they're heat embossed. I just like add a little hint to the bits that are a bit wider. And the other thing to note when you're doing this with your paintbrush is that it's fine to go from like a yellow to a green because they're very similar colours. Don't go from like a red to a yellow without cleaning your paintbrush, because otherwise you'll end up with red in your yellow. And let's go for a little bit of blue on this one. And maybe we'll use the Mango Melody as the centre. So then you get this kind of gorgeous like chalky effect. I'm just going around the outside, so I don't really want those bits that are overhanging. So I'm just rubbing off some of that extra bit. And then I'm just going to layer these up. So then there are my finished cards. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed today's project. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got new videos available. All of the products that we've used for today's cards are linked in the description below, and there's also a host code there, so if you pop the host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.